Previously on Saratoga Lights.
Sorry, thought you were someone else.
What were you doing in the attic?
That cat got stuck up there again. I was trying to get her down.
You don't have the stomach for this fight, friend. You best get with the program.
What happened to your face?
I tripped on some old buried wire.
What if he hadn't been sleeping and was watching her? We can't dwell on that stuff.
Bonnie, I don't know what you're talking about.
Can I get some privacy, please?
Saratoga Lights, Season 3, Episode 7, The Ballad of Rufus, Outlaw. With his face freshly stitched up, and his report for Yarbrough's committee handed to the mailman for delivery moments ago, Sanford now impatiently waits on the porch of this single wide, having just been told by some unseen voice inside to hang on, man.
Coming!
A man answers the door, still buttoning his jeans. His face is painted with a mixture of irritability and confusion that, coupled with his bloodshot eyes, convey strong evidence to the fact that this man is hungover. However, his face instantly brightens at the recognition of the caller rapping on his door.
Sanford?
Morning, Ralph.
Morning is a state of mind to which I do not subscribe.
I need a gun.
What happened to your face there?
Sanford ignores the query and pulls some folded bills out of his front pocket to offer them to Ralph, forcing his hands to clasp the paper money.
Please.
Ralph briefly considers the bills, at least $500 at first glance, and motions for Sanford to follow him inside.
I don't suppose you're too picky about what kind, huh?
As long as it shoots.
Ralph disappears to the back room and Sanford stands waiting for his return. The trailer is littered with empty bottles and stacks of vinyl records, seemingly absent any sort of organization system.
I thought you were like a peacenik or something.
I decided there's wisdom in self-preservation.
Ralph re-enters the room with a cache of guns cradled in his arms and a cold beer from the icebox. He puts them down in front of the coffee table and wordlessly encourages Sanford to take a look, like a proud papa showing off his brood. As Sanford looks at the 3 weapons splayed across the table, Ralph picks up the first of the bunch, a nondescript black handgun with wooden grips.
All right. This one is a 1911. Any no-dick dumb tits can point and shoot this thing. Seriously, Grandma used to sleep with this under her pillow.
Ralph shrugs as he puts it down, grabbing the next one from the table, a shiny, long-barreled revolver with an ivory handle.
This is a peacemaker. You've seen it on all the old Western serials. Old Johnny Law rounding up the red man for a pack of smokes.
Ralph dry fires the gun at each wall of the trailer, doing his best impression of Lash LaRue, and pretending to dispatch with a full saloon of banditos, while Sanford tries to avoid getting hit by the weapon as it swung around the room. Ralph blows the pretend smoke from its barrel before putting it back on the table. His face lights up as he picks up the next weapon, which could only be described as some sort of hand cannon.
This one, though. Do you know the story of Rufus Outlaw? He was this old black slave who was forced to fight for Texas during the Revolution. He got captured by Santa Anna during the Goliad campaign, and they set him free. Said, "Vaya con Dios." Whatever. Because Mexico had already outlawed slavery, right? So he builds this little shack and tries to make a buck or two. Selling his wares down at the bodega,
Ralph takes a quick drink and puts his beer down. He starts getting geographical and drawing an imaginary map in the air between them.
Well, a couple years later, the revolution settled down and they redrew the boundaries. And then, boop, suddenly he's back in Texas. Bounty hunters started poking around the border areas thinking maybe they'll find some runaways and get some easy money. And this dude, Wayman Kidd, finds him. This squirrely-looking polecat. And he tries to apprehend Rufus. Well, Rufus wasn't about to go back into bondage, so he killed Kidd. Then a bunch of white folks got angry and killed Rufus. But the thing about Rufus Outlaw is he wasn't no dummy. He was a smithy. And not just any smithy. Rufus was a gunsmith. And he designed this gun way ahead of its time. But that white mob never found it. And people eventually forgot about Rufus Outlaw. But here is where the soup thickens, friend, because someone, somehow, started manufacturing Rufus's design, and when the Civil War came to a head, it was this gun that gave the Northerners their advantage. Rufus Outlaw, 30 some odd years after his own death, helped put down the very slavers that had killed him. I think that's damn poetic.
Ralph puts the cannon down on the table and nods solemnly.
I also have some dope if you want some. Yeah, I mean, if that's your thing.
Sanford looks at the guns before him. Ralph starts counting the bills in his hand.
Is this blood?
I'll take this one.
Sanford picks up the 1911 from the table and feels the weight of it in his hands. His fingers wrap around the handle and map the contours of the wooden grips. It'll do just fine. Ralph shrugs off his concerns about the bloody bill.
I'm sure it still spins. That one has 7 in the mag plus 1 in the chamber. Just point and shoot.
Hopefully, I won't have to.
You know what, buddy? I know what you're afraid of. Everyone's talking about the hippies and the skanks, and I'm like, whoa. My buddy Sanford ain't no hippie, and he sure as shit ain't no skank. He's just a hardworking guy with a good head on his shoulders, doesn't like guns. Nothing queer about it. And just because you got a gun now, it don't mean you're a nut either. You are just protecting your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness like everyone else. Self-preservation. Am I right?
I suppose so.
Ralph grabs a joint from the counter, tightly packed with marijuana and ready to be enjoyed, and offers it to Sanford with a knowing smile.
Vaya con Dios, Sanford. Vaya con Dios.
Sanford puts the joint in his shirt pocket, thanking his friend for the gift before rushing back home. He places the gun in the attic next to the ammo box, behind the insulation and hidden from view.
You should just buy the whole cow.
Excuse me?
Saw you in here the other day buying another gallon of milk.
It went sour.
Bonnie exits the market basket, humidity slapping her in the face with abandon. Down a ways, a little girl skins her knees against the black top of the parking lot as her mother impatiently beckons the girl to stand up.
Well, if you weren't jumping around like a monkey, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. Get up. Okay, I guess I'll just have to tell your father that you didn't want to come home. Oh, here come the police to arrest you for laying down in the parking lot.
Bonnie gets in her car, placing the gallon of milk in the passenger seat, and watches the deputy drive past the market basket to some unseen emergency elsewhere in the county. On the back porch that evening, Sanford sits on a chair drinking a beer with his feet kicked up on the rail. He looks out at the backyard and at all the places his daughter used to play, all the time they spent together as a family. And then the thoughts of how far he and Bonnie have grown apart start to creep in. He fishes the joint that Ralph gave him out of his shirt pocket and lights it up. The burning taste of pine fills his lungs before he exhales the cloud of smoke into the October night. Inside, Bonnie ignites the gas heater and prepares for the first truly cold night of the season, turning the dial up slightly as the flame turns from yellow to blue. Bonnie watches it dance across the coil and sees Sanford through the back window, his head lit by that orange glow of the porch light that quickly falls off into the darkness of the world outside. She studies the contour of his face, the wrinkles grown from the corner of his eye, the gray hairs peppered across his chin. He's older than he once was. So am I, she thinks to herself.
You going to bed soon?
Sanford turns and looks up, glass-eyed at his wife.
Want me to leave the light on?
Yeah.
She retires to her bedroom for the evening. A small lamp in the corner illuminates the room, her sanctuary, free of chaos or clutter. At the foot of her bed, she kneels down and slowly brings her hands together to pray. like some long-forgotten muscle that she's using for the first time in ages. Her knees shift uncomfortably on the thin carpet as she closes her eyes and offers a silent prayer to her God. Outside, Sanford watches the mosquitoes as they swarm around the porch light and takes another hit from his joint. It feels like he can tune into the frequency of each and every set of wings flapping above him, but another noise gets his attention. Sanford realizes that he hears something underneath the porch. Not hears, necessarily, but feels. A low rumble, one barely audible, like a great big beast gasping for air, emanates from below the wood decking. He looks down to try and see something between the boards beneath his feet, but there's nothing, save for a few slivers of light that illuminates the leaves layered across the earthen floor. Slowly, overcautious due to his inebriated state, Sanford jumps off the porch and kneels down on the ground, trying to get a look at what's underneath. He squints. His eyes slowly scan left and right. Nothing. Somewhere under there are iron pipes crisscrossing cinder blocks, but all Sanford can see is the blackness. He hops back up on the porch and sits directly on the floorboards, finishing the last of his joint. The clock on her nightstand reads 2:30. Bonnie is awoken abruptly by the noise outside, one that she can't quite place for certain in her sleepy haze. She gets out of bed and pulls the curtain back slightly to peek out the window, but doesn't see anything out of the ordinary, just the yard bathed in moonlight. She puts a robe on and exits her bedroom, wiping the sleep from her eyes, and sees the front door slightly ajar. Bonnie investigates further and sees Sanford sitting on the steps of the front porch with his head down. Doesn't look like he ever went to bed. If she were any closer, Bonnie would see the gun held tightly in her husband's hand, but she can't see it. Instead, she can only see the back of her husband, who seems so far away in this moment. As Sanford vigilantly watches for anyone or anything, the screen door opens behind him.
What are you doing?
Couldn't sleep.
Bonnie walks out onto the porch, the wooden floor creaking with each and every step, no matter how gingerly taken. Sanford hears her approaching and conceals the gun under his leg. As Bonnie sits down on the steps next to him, she notices his nervous demeanor, the quick movements of his eyes, and the tension of his body language. They sit together in silence. Sanford steals a glance at her out of the corner of his eye. He does it again, but this time he's caught. Bonnie's looking right at him.
Come to bed.
It is not a request, but a demand. He has no choice but to obey. As they make their way to bed, a trail of garments appear from the front door to the bedroom. Somewhere amongst the boots and socks and pants and shirts scattered along the floor is Sanford's gun, just laying out in the open for all the world to see. But they're too preoccupied to notice. Jackie sits in the corner of the room, silently observing the two as they kiss passionately, rediscovering some fire long thought to be extinguished. Sometime later, long after the act of their reconciliation came to an end, Sanford lays sleeping on his back. Bonnie, too, lays atop the mattress, staring at the slowly spinning ceiling fan as it circulates the last of the sweat from the stale air. She looks over to her husband beside her, the first time they've shared a bed in ages, and rolls over to face him, placing her arm over his chest and nuzzling up next to him. She gives him a light kiss on the chest. Just one. It feels good. Familiar. She gives him another in the exact same spot, this time accompanied with a light nibble. She feels some animalistic compulsion to repeat the act, to get at something deep under his skin. The nibbling repeats with frequency and force, Sanford wakes in pain and tells her to stop, but his pleas are drowned out by the rhythmic chewing of his wife. More teeth now. Harder. Sanford can't raise his arms to resist her. Blood starts flowing as Bonnie bores a hole into his chest. Deeper and deeper. His face conveys all the agony in the world, but Bonnie is unfazed as her face presses further against layers of skin and tissue soaked in blood. Bonnie stops and sits upright. She looks down upon her victim, her feast, and feels nothing, neither pain nor remorse. She wipes the blood from her mouth with the back of her hand, smearing a crimson streak across her face. She falls back on her pillow and looks up at the ceiling fan as the body of her husband lay next to her, utterly destroyed and lifeless. Bonnie wakes from her dream. She tilts her head over to see Sanford asleep, chest intact. The ceiling fan silently cuts through the air above them. Outside her room, the house is quiet, save for the sound of the old gas heater burning in the still of night. This was in Texas. Saratoga Lights is written and directed by Randall LaRue. Audio recording and engineering by Matthew David Rudd. Music by Randy Reynolds. This episode features the voice talents of Heath Allen, Matt Fitzgerald, Caitlin Elizabeth, Laura Fegley, Jordan Merritt, and Matthew David Rudd. Until next time.
Excuse me.